Okay, we'll go live in a few minutes. Couple of minutes, we'll wait for everybody to log on. Mic check, mic check. Check mic. Everybody can hear me? Yeah. Thank you, Mil. Appreciate that. Or Mil Bevenge. Shalom Aleichem. Loner Dio. Don't recognize the profile name, but thank you for coming. Esther Kiru, recognize you. Shechem. Moshe, Vinny, Eliad. Shechem, Shechem, Kechem. You're going to want to watch this one. This is a little different than the more recent ones. HaShem. Let's see. I'm going to start in 20 seconds. Thank you, Ganesh, Benny, Baruch, Moshe. Very good. Ovadia, Yosef, Sarah, Rabbanit. Welcome to the show. All right, let's go to HaShem. B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We're back here on our Sunday night, but unlike our typical shiur where we do the Jewish Hashkafa series, we are actually doing a different shiur back to our Israel at War series that we started back in Israel when the war of October 7th started. As obviously a war is... A new one started in the last 24 hours with Iran, and certainly many people have endless questions about this and many other things. Tonight's shiur was sponsored by Diana Acosta, may Hashem bless her and her family, and also by David Cooper. May Hashem bless him, with both of them with bracha, atzlacha, chaim arukim, shlemim, elin Torah, mitzvot, minut chasadim. Anyone that wants to sponsor the shiurim can go to be'ezrathashem.org and you could sponsor the shiurim from there. There's different levels. Of course, all are welcome. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the refuah shlema for Rabbi Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Talia bat Sarah, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahides that continue to watch and support our teachings and all of the amazing things that the organization is doing. Anyone that wants to fulfill the mitzvah of the Kimcha, the PESACH, to help the poor Jews in Eretz Yisrael before Pesach, certainly can do it on our website, bhpesach.org, which we'll discuss a little bit later because there's so much material. I simply just want to get to it. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, Na'aseh v'Natzliach. Of course, we have the news that's not necessarily so breaking so far, which is that Iran has officially attacked Israel. Iran, Yimach Shimam v'Zichram, has been an enemy of Israel for some time now and has been threatening to annihilate Israel for many years. And of course, this is something that Israel has always feared because Iran, unlike Hezbollah or Hamas or these Palestinians, Iran is not a little gang of fools. They're a huge country with somewhat around tens of millions. I think it's around 80 million people, if I'm not mistaken, and an enormous amount of hatred for Eretz Yisrael, a lot of money, weapons, and unfortunately, some advancement in some of those weapons. So when Israel heard that Iran was wanted to attack them, they weren't necessarily so concerned until it actually happened. So of course, we have to always look at the Torah in order to find everything and anything that we want. We don't look at the news. We don't look at the media or the talking heads for truth. We look at the Torah itself. Now, at the same time, we also have to look at what is happening in the news, what is happening, in the media, and compare what's being said by the talking heads versus what the Torah has already told us for the last several thousand years. Because the Torah is always true. We're just always wondering whether the modern society has actually caught up to it. Because when they do, it is certainly something that we have to pay attention to. Now, in regards to this war, of course, everyone can tell you that this was long time coming. The Iranians have been threatening, but one of the things that even the experts in the field have said, one of them being Eliyahu Yassyan, which is a person that lived in Iran, is a Jew that lived in Iran and made Aliyah, or better said, escaped Iran as a teenager, and made the very arduous journey to Eretz Yisrael years ago. He is a world-renowned expert in matters of the Middle East, especially Iran, and he has been saying that there could be a war there for some time, but he said it wasn't something that he thought would happen in any time soon. And to his surprise, it not only happened, but he actually said that it happened in a much larger format than he actually thought, because for anyone that's old enough to remember, or anyone that has looked a little bit at the wars that Israel has had in the last several decades, one of the memorable events was the war in the Middle East with Iraq, when Saddam Hussein, Ymach Shimo, launched 39 huge rockets against Eretz Yisrael. These 39 monsters were something that just the sight of them would scare a person, and this was the whole war, 39 rockets. Now, Iran was not like Hezbollah, was not like Hamas, where they're shooting these small rockets against us that Baruch HaShem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, gave us one miracle after another to utilize different systems, whether it's the weather system or the missile system, to shoot them down. But needless to say, this was very different with Iran's missiles, as the drones and everything that they sent was just something to get our attention. But really the bigger thing that they were trying to do is they launched over 120 major ballistic missiles, each one literally comparable to the missiles that were sent, 39 that were sent by Saddam Hussein throughout an entire war, and they sent this literally all in one day. I saw a picture somebody sent me where one of the remains of these missiles is in Yam HaMelech, the Dead Sea, and as a person that's standing next to it, literally he is looks like a baby being next to this huge missile. So to just imagine over 100 of these is petrifying, to say the least. If a person is simply depending on the army of Israel, the army of America, the army of man, literally a person should be scared. Now, at the same token, we know that this is not the end. This is not something that's going to be over overnight, and it's certainly not something that a person should simply dismiss. At the same token, we have to realize that Enod Milvado, there's nothing else but Hashem. But while a person wants to believe in Hashem, wants to believe that Hashem will protect us, at the same token, the heart gets scared. So what do you do? What do you do? Now the Torah itself has given us clear messages recently, that this is something that's going to happen. And some of the things that I'm going to discuss tonight are things perhaps you heard some of them elsewhere, But I could assure you that at least one thing you've never heard anywhere, because it's Baruch Hashem, B'siyata Dishmaya, Ar Chidush. And it's literally profound how unbelievable Hashem is when it comes to running His world. Now, everything that we see in the world right now is something that we've been talking about already for the last 10 years of doing lectures, where before the end, before Mashiach eventually arrives, there's going to be a major turmoil in the world. There's going to be a lot of havoc. There's going to be a major war, where you're going to see the nations of Edom fighting the nations of Ishmael, but ultimately both attacking Israel before Mashiach comes and destroys all of Israel's enemies. This is something I'm sure many of you have heard 1,000 times. But we have to see, how does this event that we have right now play into all of it? Is this the war of Gog and Magog? Should we be scared? Should we be excited? Should we be grateful? These are some of the questions that a person has to ask, and quite frankly, the biggest question is, why is this happening? Aside from possibly being the end, why is this even happening? What are these messages that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us before all of this took place? Now, there are many different chachamim that are teaching right now about the end of days, about how this is all happening, but quite frankly, no one knows if this is the end or not. No one knows when the end is going to come, and anyone that tells you that they do is simply lying to you, fooling you, and just misleading you. There's no way whatsoever that anybody's going to know that the end is there until the end is officially arrived. But there are things that we can use from what's happening right now and measure them versus the Torah and understand a little bit more of pretty much what's happening. Now, the Gemara in Masechet Sukkah on page 29 gives us major clarity of some recent events. In just the last week, there was a solar eclipse that made the headlines. Many people discussed it. We discussed the whole issue of solar eclipses in the past and just simply republished the same clip, but there's some more insights that we can see based on what's happening right now. The Gemara in Masechet Sukkah, page 29a, gives us clarification, the same Gemara that many people, including people from the government of Israel that are secular and anti-Torah, those very same people that make fun of the Torah, that make fun of the Gemara, the people that make fun of the Jewish people that are following the Torah, that same Gemara already told us about why these things happen and what's the message. The sages taught that at a time that the sun is stricken, meaning that there is some type of lunar or solar eclipse, the light is being dimmed or diminished, it's a bad omen for the entire world. And the analogy that the Gemara gives is as if there was a king that flesh and blood that invited all of his subjects to an event, and then suddenly he shut off the lights in order to show them that he's upset with them, that he doesn't want them to enjoy this feast. Furthermore, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes comes and clarifies and says that whenever the luminaries are stricken, it is a bad omen for the Jewish people. Not just for the world, but for the Jewish people. Because they are accustomed to their blows, meaning the Jewish people are accustomed to punishment. What does that mean? It means that any time that there is a solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse, this is a sign from Hashem that you should be very careful, because this is an auspicious time for me to deliver an evil decree to the world, some form of punishment. But don't just think this is specifically for the Gentiles. This also could mean for the Jewish people. And Rabbi Meir Balanes says the reason why the Jewish people are being highlighted here is because the Jewish people, unlike the rest of mankind that do not follow the Torah, the Jewish people know how to look at what's happening in the world, compare that to the Torah, and understand why HaShem is doing what He's doing. The sages elaborated further, saying that during the time that the sun is stricken, it's a bad omen to the idolaters. And when the moon is stricken, it's a bad omen to the Jewish people. So here it seems like this is almost contradicting what Rabbi Meir Balanes said. Rabbi Meir Balanes said that this is specifically for the Jewish people, but the sages are clarifying. It's not only the Jewish people. It could be for the idol worshippers. It could be for the Jewish people based on which one, whether it's the moon or the sun that's being stricken, meaning it's being darkened. Why is one or the other? Because the way that the Jewish people calculate their calendar is the opposite of the way that the idol worshippers calculate their calendar, where the idol worshippers are calculating it based on the Gregorian calendar, which is based according to the sun, and the Jewish people calculate it based according to the moon, the lunar calendar. Furthermore, the Gemara is telling us that where this lunar or solar eclipse is seen is the place that's expected to have the bad omen, meaning the extra, more than others. So the fact that it was shown in America is certainly not a good sign for America. Perhaps this has something to do with America's change of heart in recent weeks in their support of Israel, where even though they helped in the defense of the attack that happened yesterday, we see that the Biden administration has become very different than recent administrations, where for the first time ever they did not support Israel in the United Nations. In fact, they even said that they would not support Israel in a lot of different things, and have become very aggressive in their lack of support of Israel. The one major good thing about America in recent years has been their support of Israel, and that seems to be diminishing drastically and rapidly. Furthermore, the Gemara is telling us that when the sun is smitten while in the middle of the sky, it's a bad omen for the entire world. And when the face of the sun is similar to blood, meaning it's a reddish color, it's an omen of death by sword, which is coming to the world, meaning war is coming. And when the sun appears darkened in color similar to a sack, which is similar to what happened, it's an omen of arrows of hunger. Times of famine are coming to the world. This could be an indication of a market crash, a market crisis. And if both happen, both could be happening, meaning if it not only is reddish, but also appears like it's in a sack, then it could be both of these horrible things coming to the world. As HaShem is delivering a retribution to the world, and this is the sign that this is coming. Now, during this time, the Gemara is telling us, you will not find any nation that is affected by this, that is hurt by this, while their angel is not affected. In fact, what the sages are teaching us is that each nation has an angel representing them in heaven, and those angels are having a war in Shemaim first. Before there's a war in this world, there's a war in heaven first, by the Sarim, by the angels representing each nation. Now, when do the Jews have to be worried, and when should they not be worried? Gemara is saying, when the Jews are doing the will of Hashem, they need not worry about all of these omens. As the Torah says from the prophet Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2, thus said Hashem, do not learn from the way of the nations, do not be frightened by the signs of the heavens, though the nations are frightened by them. Rashi HaKadosh comes and says, what is Jeremiah trying to tell the Jewish people? Aside from don't be afraid, he's telling us, don't be afraid if you are not trying to be like the Goyim. If you are not trying to change your Jewish names into non-Jewish names, if you're not trying to look like the Goyim, where you are following the immorality and the idolatry of the Goyim, then of course you have everything to be afraid of. If you are dressing like them, acting like them, you emulate them in so many ways, then you have everything to be afraid of. But if your Jewish identity, your Jewish pride, your Jewish loyalty to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is firm, you have nothing to worry about. But if it's not, if you find yourself with a non-Jewish behavior and non-Jewish customs that you've become excited about, you're much more excited about Thanksgiving and 4th of July than you are about Pesach and Rosh Hashanah, then you, my dear friend, have a very, very serious problem. Why? Because this prophecy is talking about you. If you are excited about things that are against the Torah, you have a very serious problem. If you are behaving against the Torah, you have a very serious problem. Now, Rashi is trying to clarify to us pretty much a get-out-of-jail-free card. So long as we are loyal to Hashem, and in accordance to His Torah, all of these things have no relevance, no shaykhus whatsoever to us. If we are betraying Hashem, if we are reneging on our commitment to the Torah, we have everything to worry about and more. Now, the sages clarify some of the things that happen that HaKadosh Baruch Hu simply is disgusted by, which ultimately fills up the cup of sins to the point where these decrees come to the world. And there are a handful of things that are mentioned. The rabbis taught that on the account of these 4 things, the sun is stricken. On the account of a head rabbinical court who dies, head of a rabbinical court like a Av Bedin, a Torah sage, dies and is not eulogized properly. Or on the account of a betrothed maiden who was raped and cried out for help in the city, yet no one saved her. Countless of these things happened during the October 7th attack. And yet the world, instead of supporting the Jewish people, is supporting the terrorists that did all of this. On the account of homosexual relations, LGBTQ, as the Kadosh Baruch Hu says multiple times in the Torah, this is considered an abomination. And one of the things that the sages teach us in the Zohar Kadosh is that while many sins happened at the time of Noach, the one thing that pretty much took everything to an unacceptable level is when LGBTQ became a mitzvah. Became not only acceptable, but became a mitzvah, which unfortunately is happening as we speak. This is considered disgusting in the eyes of God. And finally, on the account of 2 brothers whose blood was spilled as one, meaning at one time. And this, of course, unfortunately happened on October 7th. This is some of the things that many of us witnessed through videos, through phone calls, and so on from different people that unfortunately suffered over the last 6 months. Furthermore, the sages teach that there are other things that are also equally abominable in the eyes of God that bring him to the point of bringing a horrible times to the world. When people forge documents, and or give false testimony, this is specifically talking about dishonesty in a beit din, in a Jewish court, specifically, where a Jewish court is in essence supposed to be a hand of God. They're supposed to deliver the law of God to people. But when people that are actually running the beit din are manipulating the judgment to their favor or to their friend's favor, they're they're judging towards their friend, or they're getting all types of kickbacks, or they're ignoring the halacha because somebody's giving them a few dollars, all types of horrible things. These types of things bring judgment to the world. Another example is when the Jewish people are involved in lending money with interest. And this, Rabotai Kareem, is one of the things we've been screaming about for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, of how the cash advance business, the most predatory financial business in the world today, literally it's more predatory than Ponzi schemes. If anybody understood the difference between the two, they would agree in a second. And this cash advance business is unfortunately not only running rampant in the United States, but it's also spreading out to other countries. They're even reaching Israel, they're reaching different parts of Europe. And although the governments are trying to protect people from this predatory business, unfortunately, they're not doing enough. And what's worse of it all is that you not only have goyim, non-Jews in this business, but you have many Jews in this business. And the absolute worst part of all of it that we've been screaming about for the last several years is the fact that there are some wicked people that pretend to be rabbis that are somehow telling the Jewish people that this business is legitimate, that this business is kosher. A pig will become kosher before this cash advance business will become kosher, according to the Torah. And in fact, we've brought many proofs in the past to show that there's nothing kosher about it. There's nothing kosher about charging people 80, 100, 200% interest. And soon enough, people will wake up to realize how much damage this is bringing. Either way, we see that all of the things that the Gemara is warning us about that bring an evil decree to the world, an evil decree to Chas v'Shalom, to the Jewish people, all of these things are happening. It's not just one. Every one of them is happening. Every one of them has happened. Now, a person could say, yeah, you're right, these things are happening, but these lunar eclipses, these solar eclipses, they're all based on the way the world works and the mathematical calculation and how the spheres, and I'll give you all types of scientific mumbo jumbo about how this has nothing to do with the Torah. Now, do you think that your lame rejection of the Torah is the first time that we've ever heard a rejection of the Torah? 200 years ago, one of the great Chachamim, the Aruch Laner, Rabbi Yaakov Ettlinger, who lived in Germany, wrote a responsa specifically addressing this particular issue. There were endless amount of heretics and reformers in Germany, and he actually responded to this. And he says as follows: a response to the heretics who say that the solar eclipse is all based on science and not a divine message, As if our great chachamim, our great sages, didn't know the mathematical parts of nature. But these scientists are blind because they didn't realize that the words of the sages are written with wisdom and explained to us that although there's a mathematical order to the world, with its solar or lunar eclipses and so on, it still contains the divine message to the world, whereby the warnings that were taught inside these teachings were unveiled to the sages as part of Hashem's secrets. And since Hashem knew from the time He created the world that there will be bad times in the future, and therefore determined that there will be a solar and a lunar eclipse during those times from creation. Meaning He knew, but He didn't decree for it to be, since it all depends on man's free choice. To simplify it, already at the time of creation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew every single moment that will ever exist, every single thing that will ever happen. Without getting into the very deep topic of free choice, well, if He knew, then how am I really choosing? Which we've explained in the past, how that works. Hashem knows what you're going to do, even though He doesn't choose for you what to do, because the past, the present, and the future to Him is all one and the same thing. We, on one hand, are looking at things from as if you have a pair of glasses, you're seeing everything that's in front of you, whereas HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the entire picture. So imagine that you have a pair of glasses that are narrowing your vision to seeing pretty much what's in front of you. But then if you take off those glasses and then you pretty much see the entire picture, you see how much you are actually missing. Similar concept with how HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees the world. Everything, the past, the present, and the future is all one and the same. He sees an entire picture. And He does not choose for you what to do. In a way where if you would give me the privilege of, let's say, writing down a piece of paper, something and putting it in an envelope and then obligating you to only open it next week. After you've gone through your whole week, you eventually open the envelope. And when you open the envelope, you see that I wrote down every single thing that you did throughout that week. Now obviously, I knew everything you're going to do, but I didn't decree that you're going to do them. Same concept with Hashem, knowing the past, the present, and the future. And what the Rav is trying to tell us here is that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, He knew that there were going to be times that are going to be bad times. They're going to be horrible times where people are going to do horrible things. And because of that, He decided that He wants to give the Jewish people a sign, a message, that this bad things that have happened have culminated to the point where there has to be a divine decree of punishment to the world, to the people, to whatever it is. And since, as Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes said in the Gemara that we just read, that Am Yisrael learns from punishment, here is what he's telling us. He's telling us that unlike the rest of the world that are looking at a solar eclipse and are too busy taking pictures of it and putting it on the internet, the Jewish people that are committed to the Torah, not just anybody that's a Jew because his mother is a Jew, but Jewish people that are actually committed to learning the Torah, know that everything that's happening in the world is already hinted to in the Torah itself. It's already clarified in the Torah itself. And when a person sees that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent us a solar eclipse, he has to look inside the Torah to see, what does a solar eclipse mean? What does a solar eclipse mean? And he doesn't have to look too far, because he will quickly find the answer. The answer is, a solar eclipse is a warning to the world, a warning to the wicked among the world, and a warning even to the Jewish people. If they were not doing, and if they're not doing the will of HaShem, this is a time that they could be punished. Years ago, there was a great Chacham named Rav Daniel Parish. He wrote a commentary on the Zohar Kadosh, famous one, called Matok Midvash. And this precious Jew gave us a life that you can learn from that this particular concept. Where there was one time another Jew that caused them an enormous amount of damage. And Rav Parish, instead of getting angry, instead of taking revenge against him, not only did he not get angry, not only did he not take revenge against him, but he actually helped this Jew. He helped him. He helped him with different things. One of his Talmidim said, Rabbi Parish, please, explain to me, how do you do it? This guy hurt you. How do you not only not get angry, but you help the guy? Rav Daniel Parish said to him, my dear son, listen. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he already knew at the time of his creation what will happen in every single moment of the world. Which means that he knew that I, Daniel Parish, need to get some pach on my head, some pain, some agony at this particular time, in order for his creation to be complete. So who am I to say that this is not good? Who am I to get angry about it? Who am I to say that there could be a better way? For I am part of creation. So certainly, if HaShem gives me even a few more of these hits, it only reminds me that I am part of his creation for the completion of his creation, for the completion of the world. Another time he used this same concept and story to his son-in-law. They were at a wedding event, and the son-in-law that was trying to please his father-in-law and other people was carrying a big dish full of food and drinks and so on, and of course, to his dismay, as he got to Rabbi Parish, his father-in-law, instead of impressing him, he dropped the whole thing on him. Immediately Rav Parish smiled, and no, he couldn't understand. How could this be? Instead of being in agony, pain, instead of yelling something, he's like, oh, how? He said, my dear son, I am part of the creation, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his ultimate wisdom, at the time of creation, he decided and he decreed that Daniel Parish needs to get the whole dish full of food dropped on him. Who am I to say this is not good? And in fact, if HaShem decrees that several other dishes or other things have to be dropped on me, and even if it's from you, I already forgive you ahead of time. You don't even need to say I'm sorry, because all it does is just remind me I am part of his creation. A mentality like that certainly brings a happy life, and certainly brings a person to become a direct vessel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his Torah. But to get to that point obviously requires an endless amount of effort. And that's one of the main things that we do in the Shiurei Torah, and when we learn, when we try to see what the Torah says about everything. On one end, we're seeing that the enemy, Iran, has attacked. Secondly, we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu warned us about this. Third, we're being told that we should accept it with happiness? How? The greatest thing that a person needs to learn is that in the Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan, the sages teach, Megalgelim zchut al yodeh zakai v'chova al yodeh chayav. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the bed din of heaven, in the court of heaven, he brings a zchut, a merit, to those that are meritorious, and he brings an obligation, problems, to those that have earned those obligations because of their sins. But he also treats the same thing, the months. Meaning it's not just the people, but also the times. And one of the things that you'll notice is that in the Gemara, it says in Masechet Ta'anit, at the end of the Masechet, the sages ask, why was the month of Av constantly the month that has all of the worst problems? We have the destruction of the first Bet HaMikdash, destruction of the second Bet HaMikdash, and certainly history has shown us that all of the worst things that have happened to Am Yisrael have happened throughout this month. And the Gemara says that's because the Torah itself says, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that the Meraglim, the spies, went to the land of Israel, instead of reporting good things about the land of Israel to Moshe Rabbeinu and the Jewish people, they said Lashon Hara about HaShem, they said Lashon Hara about the land, they said horrible things, and everybody, instead of believing in HaShem and having faith in HaShem, they lost their faith, they threw it all in the garbage, and they had a night full of wasted tears. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu decreed at that moment that you cried for no reason, I will make sure that you cry on this day for generations. In so many words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu realigned history to make sure that any horrible thing that would happen to Am Yisrael would typically happen during this time, during the time of that particular sin of the Meraglim. On the other hand, we have the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan, the Gemara says, is the month where the salvation came, the Exodus. The month of Nisan is when we got the original salvation, and the sages teach the month of Nisan is where we're going to get our ultimate salvation, where the Mashiach will arrive. The month of Nisan is a month of miracles, a month of Nisim. And in fact, all of the greatest things that have happened to Am Yisrael have happened during this time. So the good news that we have is that this attack by Iran happened during the month of Nisan, and not during the month of Av. So although there is a horrible decree floating over the world, the Jewish people have a light of hope that it's not necessarily meant to be the worst thing ever if we do what we're supposed to do in order to make sure that the scale of merits goes in our favor, instead of the opposite, chas v'shalom. Now, what are some of the things that we see right now that are truly miraculous, truly divine, and that you haven't heard completely until now to bring this Gemara to life? The Gemara told us, when we go against the Torah in these different horrific ways, whether it's distorting judgment or immorality, all of these things cause problems. Where is this happening? Before October 7th, October 6th, the government of Israel was literally on the brink of a revolution, of a fight that was going to destroy a lot more than most people realize, because they were fighting against the Torah. They were fighting against the Torah scholars. They were fighting against the Orthodox community. But then on October 7th, after we were attacked, that attack against the Torah was silenced, was put in the back burner, it seemed at least, for a moment, was forgotten. Unfortunately, even though many people have done tshuva after October 7th, many people have started keeping Shabbat, many people have started dressing modestly. There's even a story I heard from Rabbi Ephraim where this one guy that's not exactly the most religious Jew out there, he decided that he's going to do something to help people. How? He has a car shop and people come there to fix their cars. Now while you're fixing your car, you have to wait. He says, okay, I'm going to use this opportunity. He bought a pair of tefillin, and every time somebody comes, he goes, okay, listen, the car has this wrong with it, that wrong with it, whatever's wrong with it, it's going to take a half hour, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it's going to take. So instead of sitting and doing nothing, here, put on tefillin. No, come on, what tefillin? No, listen, you put on tefillin, I'll give you a discount. And he gives them discounts in price because they're going to put on tefillin. Now, this Jew, if you looked at him, he doesn't even look like a religious Jew. But he knows tefillin connects us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Connects us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Another Jew came to Rabbi Ephraim with shorts and a t-shirt, looked like he just came from a shower or something. He said, listen, Rabbi, when is the fast, when is the Siyum HaSechet going to be on before Pesach? And he looks at him, he said, you're worried about Siyum HaSechet? He goes, yeah, listen, every year I fast. The guy's not even wearing a kippah, it looks like he just came out of the shower. He barely has any clothes on. He said, listen, every year I fast. But this year, you know what, I really, I want to go to one of these Siyum HaSechet so I don't have to fast. Rabbi Ephraim said, no problem, here it is. Come over here, I'll do a Siyum HaSechet for you. You're seeing different people pay attention to the spark of holiness that they have within them. But the same token, the powers of evil also are utilizing their energy and their efforts to go against the Torah. So even though October 7th was a time of tragedy that led to a lot of people waking up and doing tshuva and putting aside the war against the Torah, that was only temporary. And on April 1st, the Israeli court issued an evil decree against the Torah community, against the Jewish people. Yes, the Jewish people are being fought against by the Jewish people. Even though the court has a couple of Arabs in it, certainly the Jewish people in there are the majority, and they're all in line with one thing. They hate the Torah. And they're doing everything they possibly can to destroy the Torah. So on April 1st, they decided to stop the funding to the yeshivot in Eretz Yisrael. Now, there are 193 countries in the world. 67 of them are Roman Catholic. 49 are Islamic. 49 Protestant Christians. 14 Eastern Orthodox. 3 Hindus. There's only one Jewish country in the world. What makes the Jewish? The fact that the Jewish people learn Torah. That's what makes us Jewish. A Jew that does not learn Torah is not utilizing his Judaism, is not acting as a Jew. In fact, the Gemara says that a Jew that does not learn Torah, does not make time to learn Torah, has no share of the world to come. So out of all of the countries, 193 countries, if you would have said, listen, from now on, you're not allowed to learn Torah in Germany, not allowed to learn Torah in Iraq, not allowed to learn Torah in, Bangladesh. No one would care. Why? It's not a Jewish country, so it's not a surprise. But when there's one Jewish country in the entire planet, and on that one place, you're going to tell us, if you learn Torah, we're going to punish you. We're going to punish you. Now, if you want to be some lab rat or some scientist that chases after lab rats, or you want to do anything else in Israel, you get rewarded for it, you get compensated for it, you get applauded. Even if your field of expertise is completely useless to society. In fact, even if you're a terrorist that just killed himself in order to kill Jews, the government will give you compensation for it. But if you want to be a Torah scholar, the Jewish court, the secular Israeli court just said you'll be punished for it. How? No funding. No funding to the yeshivot. This was April 1st, just a couple of weeks ago. Now, before you connect the dots, let me give you some more statistics. The Israeli Times reported that approximately 55,000 students in the yeshivot will be affected, because out of the $1.4 billion budget that the yeshivot have, 273 million comes from the government. Meaning, it's not all 1.4 billion comes from the government like some people think. Only a small portion, approximately 20%, 19%, comes from the government. Much less, by the way, than what they give to other causes. But this amount of money, $273 million, is going to affect 55,000 students. Furthermore, the Wall Street Journal reported that last night Israel spent $550 million defending itself against the missiles of Iran. $550 million is what it cost them to defend themselves against Iran's attack in a matter of moments. If you do the math here, you're seeing that $550 million is divided into 55,000 students. That means that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is punishing Am Yisrael, or punishing the government that's supposed to be protecting Am Yisrael, but unfortunately is an enemy of Am Yisrael, enemy of the Torah, $10,000 per student. And if you want to make it even more precious, more biblical, more divine, you do the math. What happens when the Torah says you stole money that belongs to somebody else and you get caught? If you stole the money and you give it back before you got caught, you're absolved. You give back the money. But if you stole the money and you don't give it back and you get caught, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says the penalty is you have to pay double. You took $275 million from my dear tzaddikim that are learning Torah. You took $275 million from my soldiers, my spiritual soldiers. You took $275 million from them. And you don't want to give it back? Punished. What's the punishment? Double. Exactly double the amount of money. They're trying to take away from the Torah scholars, from those that want to be Torah scholars, is what it cost them to defend themselves last night. 275 million times 2. Here we see, Rabotai Yekarim, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs his world with perfection, with precision, for those that can see the value in the punishment. Now, Rabbi Meir Bar Anez said that we can learn from these punishments. We can learn from these decrees. What can we learn? We can learn what we need to change. So long as you're going to make the Torah your enemy, you're making God your enemy. So long as you think that America is going to save you, God will make America your enemy. So long as you think you'll be saved by the hands of man, man will be your enemy. When you realize that en od milvado, that there's nothing else but Hashem, then Hashem says, are you calling me my dear son? Are you calling me my dear daughter? Oh, here I am. Let me take care. What is this problem you have? Oh, it's gone. It's gone before you even realize it. It's gone. But if you're declaring war against my Torah, in a matter of seconds I can show you that instead of you saving 275 million, you just wasted 550 million. And this is just the beginning. Because Iran is a very, very big country with a very, very big budget and an endless arsenal of weapons. They could literally send this amount of missiles, chas v'shalom, 1,000 times over, and still would not be touched. What they sent yesterday wasn't really a declaration of war like some people think. Rather, what they sent yesterday was just simply testing the system. See what kind of defense you have. It's just like in the old days. Before the major army would attack, they wouldn't send everybody and all the horses and all the cannons and all of the weapons. No, they send you a small little legion. They send a small little legion and view from the top to see what happens to them. See where the traps are. See what kind of defense system you have. Once they see that, now they know how to attack. The same is happening now. They send some missiles, not because this is an attack. It's to test out the system, but even more so in order for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to test out his Jewish people to see, what are you going to do now that you're seeing this horrible thing at your doorstep? Are you going to start praying to Biden? Are you going to start praying to the US dollar? Are you going to start praying to the UN? Are you going to start praying to what? What firepower you have? Or are you going to start praying to the one and only God that already knew everything that's going to be from the beginning of the creation itself and decided this was what was needed at this time because of what's happening? Ultimately, Rabotai, Rav Ephraim explains to us that this fear that a person would have at times like this is only because of a lack of knowledge. Similar to if a person would hear the words of the sages when they talk about eating. The Zohar Kadosh in Parashat Ekev, page 272, says, Shat achila, shat milchama. The hour of eating is the hour of war. Why? Because if you only knew what your body has to go through in order for you to digest the food you just put into your mouth. You just took a slice of pizza. You just took a hamburger. You just took a banana. Whatever you decided to eat. Without thinking twice, you're hungry. You want to eat. You're not thinking about all of the things that this food has to go through in order for it to be digested by your body. All the different mechanisms that are inside your mouth, the different taste buds and sensors you have inside your mouth to determine whether this food is poisonous or not, whether it's spoiled or not. Not just if it's good taste or not. The mechanism you have to crush the food, just enough for it to go through these tubes, because if it's not crushed enough, it will never make it to your stomach because you'll simply choke to death. Furthermore, the food has to get slowly but surely get to a point where it can go through the entire system. The big intestine, the small intestine, the different parts of your body that require this food, while the other parts of your body reject the food. The acid that's in your stomach that is so strong that if you would put it on something, it would literally destroy it, regardless of whether you're eating a steak or you're eating a banana or you're eating anything. Everything that goes into that body is going to get destroyed. Yet your stomach itself does not get destroyed because HaKadosh Baruch Hu made sure to have the mechanism inside that very stomach that the walls regenerate faster then the acid is destroying them. Because if the acid is higher, that's when you start getting ulcers and holes in your stomach. And when a person starts to realize all of the things that happen to the food in order for that food to eventually become a nutritious part of your body, giving you life, giving you energy, instead of becoming a detriment to you, the more a person knows, the more a person realizes why the sages say the hour of eating is the hour of war. So how come a person that eats is typically not scared? Simple. He doesn't know anything. He just knows that he's hungry. So ignorance here is a blessing. But it's not always a blessing. You see, many people know some information about what's happening right now. Why? They watch the news. They watch the news. They watch all the different channels, the ones that are live, the ones that are reruns, the clips that they make. They watch the English news, the Hebrew news, the Al Jazeera news. Oh, they watch all. Why? Because they want to know where's this, where's the warrior, where's the rockets, where's the missile, where's this, where's that. So why? Because they want to be informed. But instead of this increased amount of information bringing them more contentment, less worry, more confidence, it does the opposite. It creates stress. It creates an enormous amount of stress. Every time they look around, they're looking for something bad to happen. Every time they turn on the news, they're hoping that the war is over because they have all of this information that they consumed about the war, but it didn't give them any comfort. Almost like the guy that knows a lot about what I just said in regards to digestion, with the exception of the final ingredient, where he knows enough about what the food has to do to the point where he doesn't want to eat anymore. Why? He's scared that one of these tubes is going to get shut down. He's scared that this food may actually have a little bit of poison in it. He's scared that he may be allergic to something and just simply have his face blow up and have all types of different things come out. So, on one end, ignorance was good, but not necessarily so much. On the other end, information was good, but not necessarily so much. What's the missing ingredient in both? You see, when a person is completely ignorant, they're living a lie. And they're taking risks that they don't even realize that they're taking. He's hungry, so therefore he eats, is not necessarily always the greatest thing to do, because if you're not careful, you could literally be killing yourself. On the other hand, if you know all about the digestive tract and everything else that happens to your food or anything else in your life, sometimes it can give you so much concern that you're scared to do anything. You become a deer in headlights. It's scared to move. What's the solution? There is a final ingredient. A final bit of information that's the most profound and most important, which is the Chesed of HaShem, the kindness of HaShem, and how He runs this world. You see, the one thing that a person doesn't realize about his digestion is that the same one that created all of these obstacles in your digestive system, all of these risks in your digestive system, all of these risks in the food supply, all of these risks that exist in the world, He's also the same one that created you. He's also the one that decided that you are going to live, that you are part of the Tikkun Olam. You need to exist at that particular moment in His world. Not that He needs you, but the world that He has a role for you to play. And therefore, you take a bite, He's going to let that bite be something that's good for you. He's going to let that bite be something that goes through your body without any issues. Same concept when it comes to the war. If a person spends their energy looking at the news, all they're doing is they're watching a bunch of speculators tell you what they think is going to happen next tell you what they think should happen next, tell you what they think already happened, and rarely ever admit that they were wrong about all of them. What they're all forgetting, and what anybody that's watching the news is forgetting, is that the same God that brought this war to us is the same God that brought us the signs. Is the same God that brought us the signs that this war will happen. And is the same God that told us about all of this happening well ahead of today. How far back? Thousands of years ago. In the Psikta Rabbati, the sages teach us in Psikta 36, Am Yisrael is like a disabled person in the eyes of the world. How so? Well, all of the world, people make fun of them and say, where is your God? As they insult them, as they abuse them, as they hurt them. And Am Yisrael that's loyal to HaShem says to them, we have one day in the future where our king will be unveiled, and he is the one that will bring us salvation. He is the one that will strengthen us. He is the one that we stand for until this day. He is the one that allows us to exist. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak said, in the year that the King Mashiach will be unveiled, the nations of the world will start going after each other. And the king of Paras is Persia or Iran, will start a fight with the king of Arabia, Saudi Arabia. And the king of Arabia will go to Edom, to America, to ask him for guidance, how they should deal with this king of Paras. This is what's been happening over the last few months. And the king of Paras decides that he's going to destroy the whole world. And all of the nations around the world start going crazy, causing noise and being scared and falling on their faces. As if a woman during our child labor pains. And Israel also starts worrying and screaming, getting scared, and asking, where will we go? And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to them, my dear children, don't fear. Everything that I've done, I didn't do for no reason, but rather I did it for you. From what are you scared? Don't be scared. The time has come for your salvation. Not like the previous first salvation, but rather the last salvation. Because the first salvation, the Exodus, had sorrow in it. But this one, the last salvation, there will not be any sorrow. There will not be any servitude of these other kings. Here, Rabotai Karim, the sages have unveiled to us thousands of years ago of what the picture is going to look like when the Mashiach will come. Certainly a war will be. Certainly a crisis. Certainly fear. Certainly death. But it's not for the Jewish people that are loyal to HaShem to be scared of, but rather to know HaShem is doing all of this for you that have been loyal to me, for you that have been keeping Shabbat, protecting your brit, for you that have not tried to emulate the Goyim, for you that have not looked up to people that have spearheaded the awful revolution against God, but rather looked up to the people that have dedicated their lives to God by studying Torah, by doing Chesed, by doing mitzvot. For you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing all of this to bring you the salvation. And this salvation will not be a salvation that will have any sorrow in it, but rather a salvation of all salvations, a salvation of happiness, of joy, for those that are loyal. You see, Rabotai Karim, when a person thinks of war based on a bunch of blind people in the news, that the vast majority of them don't even believe in God, and if they do, they believe in some foreign God, not the God of Israel that obligates us to do Torah and to follow Torah and mitzvot, that what ends up happening is that person is not going to be calmed by the news, but rather more worried. The same as a person that only knows part of the details of creation. The reality is that Iran is no worse than Haman. Haman was much worse. Haman was nearly in control of 127 countries and had a decree in his hand to annihilate all of the Jews in a single day. Iran does not even have the ability to manage its own population, as some of them literally walk around going against their own government in open daylight without a care or concern if they're going to get killed or not. But yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us from Haman. Why? Because we did tshuva. Because we realized that we made a mistake by emulating the Goyim. We realized that we made a mistake by going and celebrating Thanksgiving instead of celebrating Pesach. We realized that we made a mistake by wanting to be like the nations rather than the chosen nation. We realized we made that mistake and we made a change. When we made a change, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, "My dear children, all of this I did for you. Now, here is your salvation." When a person takes all of this into account, they'll realize that no knowledge, while it sometimes will equal no fear, it obviously has unprecedented risk. On the other hand, when a person has some knowledge, that some knowledge, partial knowledge, will actually increase the fear, increase the agony, increase the pain, and does not minimize the risk. But when a person has a complete picture of the knowledge available to him or to her from the Torah, that person has no reason whatsoever to be afraid. Why? Because you have in your hands the answers of what you need to do in order for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to protect you from Iran, from the anti-Semites, from anybody that wants evil for you. What is it? It's the Torah. It's the instruction set that's going to tell you how to observe Pesach, how to clean for Pesach, how to eat matzah, how to keep Shabbat, how to be modest, how to be a moral person, how to be an honest person, how to conduct business honestly. And that honesty does not mean lack of profitability, quite the opposite. You have an instruction set from the one and only God of Israel. When you follow that instruction set, it'll give you a good life here. It'll give you a comfort to know that while all of these problems are happening, you're not part of the problem. You're part of the Tikkun Olam. So certainly, Hashem will send tests your way. But don't be afraid and don't be angry. Quite the opposite. Do like Rav Daniel Parish said, this is happening because it needs to happen. Because part of the completion of the world had this as part of it. This stumbling block had to exist in order for Hashem's creation to be complete. You're never going to know the full reason you're not God, but you don't need to be. You just need to know that God is there. And everything that's happened to you privately, everything that's happening to you overall, all of it is part of Hashem's perfect system. What you have to worry about is perfecting yourself. But part of perfecting yourself as a Jew also means you have to help other Jews. Because the very same Torah that protects us, the very same Torah that assures us that the salvation will ultimately come, is the Torah that says that Kol Israel Aravim Ze Lazeh. All of Israel are responsible for each other. You can't just take care of yourself and care less about the rest of the Jews that are unaware of the truth, that are unaware of the obligation, that are unaware of the consequences. Meaning that you have to make sure that you do whatever you can to help other Jews. Do tshuva, learn the truth, learn what is the only thing that's going to protect them at these times. It's not going to be Tzahal, it's not going to be IDF, it's not going to be America, it's not going to be Biden, Trump, or anybody else that comes thereafter. It's not going to be Netanyahu or any other snake after him. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can bring us the salvation. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we see clearly that when people go against the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows how great His wrath is in a single second. You try to go against my Torah by deducting $275 million from what they need in order to learn Torah. Not only will I give them the money anyway, but you'll be fined double, just like a thief is. Just like a thief. But unlike them, that they needed over a period of a year, the fine is double today. If you continue, it'll be double tomorrow also, and again on the next day. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Not the Israeli government, not the American government, not any government. HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. The more a person aligns their mind and soul with this, the easier the path to salvation will be. The more a person looks for information elsewhere, the more they're bringing confusion, agony, and pain to their life. Why? Because instead of learning Torah, doing mitzvot, helping other people, do tshuva, helping other people in need, they're wasting the limited amount of time we have in this world on things that are not going to help them anyway. In fact, more likely to hurt them. Right now, there is more need in the Torah community than any other time in recent history. This budget cut is our opportunity. Our opportunity to up the stakes in our giving. We are doing an enormous amount to help Am Yisrael even beyond our abilities. During this Pesach, as we do every year, we're giving out food and money to thousands and thousands of people in Eretz Yisrael. But of course, we realize that we have to up the ante ourselves. So in the next 12 hours, we're going to have 500 Torah scholars, or a little more than 500 Torah scholars, learn the very same Talmud Bavli, but all of the Masechtot, not just a few lines that I mentioned to you. All of the Masechtot in a single day. It's going to be an event that takes several hours. It's all going to be in one place. We're bringing them food. We're bringing some beautiful things that are going to make this event not just a event that just a few unheard of people are learning, but they're going to be comfortable. They're going to be treated like royalty. They're going to obviously have money to take home to buy the things they need for the holiday, in addition to helping communities in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim, in Yavniel, in Tel Zion, different places, because there are many people that need help. And the calls keep coming in. Just today, a woman came in, told us she can't even come to the food distribution in our community. Why? She has a disease where she's not able to move. She has a disease, she's not able to move. Her husband has left her. She's responsible by herself, her and 4 kids. She doesn't just need a few dollars. She needs a miracle. We can't provide the miracle, but we can provide her some money to help her. Another woman came in, the husband has been sick for several years, can't work. She just got fired from her job, but the 6 kids still need to eat. Whether you get fired from your job or you don't, the kids still need to eat. And literally, one horror story after another is coming in. And we're thinking, whoa, the original 500 commitment is not enough. We have to up it to 600, to 700. We just keep giving more and more. Where's the money coming from? I have no idea, but we're committing to it. We already bought the tickets, the food cards. We already bought the food. We're going to have a couple of places where we're going to give the food itself. A bunch of places we're going to give a card with money in it for people to buy the food, to buy whatever they need. This is an opportunity for us. An opportunity for us to be servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, loyal servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that show him that we know he is the one that controls everything. And if he gave us the opportunity to do a mitzvah, we're going for it. Why? Because this is what's needed today. This is what's needed today. So we need more Torah. We're going to have more Torah learned tomorrow. We need more Torah during Ben Azmanim. We're going to have a couple of different yeshivot. Gather all these young kids that have off from yeshiva because it's a vacation time from yeshivot during this month of holidays. We're going to have them learn Torah even during their vacation. Give each one of them some money so it motivates them to come learn for a few hours a day. So we're going to have more Torah for my young kids during the holiday. And last but not least, here in America, what can we do to help Am Yisrael do more tshuva? Our Kiruv store, Baruch HaShem, has been distributing books for the last several years, and people have enjoyed it in different places. I have many people telling me that they've read my book, but they never even knew I give lectures. Just a few days ago, I went to a supermarket to do some shopping for Shabbat, for the holiday, and one of the people that works at the store knew me by name, and literally, like as if we were long lost brothers. And then he asked me, "Do I speak English?" Why is he asking me if I speak English? Because he doesn't know me from the lectures that you're watching. He doesn't know me from the vast majority of my lectures. He knows me from my Hebrew book, which he read a couple of them, Baruch Hashem, and that's how he knows who I am. So literally, there are different seeds of different people that the seed has been planted in different ways. Another person I ran into was a guy that came to my shiur almost 9 years ago. A group of Spanish Jews that I haven't seen many of them in a long time. And one of the guys that came to the shiur, I haven't heard from him in years. When I met him, he wasn't exactly keeping Torah and mitzvot. But he called me over and he looked very, familiar to me, but wasn't sure. And then he said who he was. Oh, right away it clicked who he was, but much more religious version. A few moments later, I see his wife. He has a new wife. A wife that's religious. A wife with kisui rosh, with mitpachat. A little cute tzadikah kid. This is a guy that came to the shiur 9 years ago. He's living a frum life. A seed I didn't even know bloomed into fruits. All types of people. The books, the USBs, the lectures, they're helping people all over the place. So you can order these books for free, these USBs for free on our store, bhkiruv.org, to distribute in your Jewish community. And since we have to up the ante, because now is not the normal times, we have to up the ante. What are we going to do in order to up the ante? Because even though we're doing a lot, we have to do more. Decided that we're going to do something that has never been done before. The books of Rav Nisim Yagin, Alav Shalom, come from his lectures. Literally, from my perspective, the best books available in the English language. This is the reason why we've been selling their sets, the sets of his books, for the last couple of years, because you can't find the set of his books anywhere. Not sure why, but I know the Yetzer Hara doesn't want them there. So we've been selling them, but little tidbits here and there. I don't have much time to market this stuff. But we need this Torah. We need this Torah in the Jewish community. So anybody that orders from our Kiruv store free books, our books that you're going to distribute, you're also going to get a pack of these books. This one and the other versions of his books. He has books about PESACH. He has books about Purim, every parasha, bunch of different books. You'll get different batches of books. We're not going to give the whole set. We're going to give, let's say a batch of, 10 or 12 of these with the order of books, and a batch of 10 or 12 of something else to somebody else. In so many words, each one of these books, if you could actually even find them online, is $50. So each time you get your Yetzirah to shut up and take some time to distribute some books, you also have additional ammunition where you have some more books that literally is not for sale. Don't sell these. If you're selling this, it's considered like you're stealing. Go and take these books and give them to Jewish people to go learn from. Rav Nissim again helped Am Yisrael at a time of need. We need the help of the tzaddik again. We need his books. We need people to learn his books. So whether it's going to be the books about the overall Torah or Torah life, or the books that he has about the weekly parasha, or the books that he has about how to change your overall perspective, whatever it is, we're going to be giving a bunch of them for free. It's an enormous investment that we're making for a short period of time while supplies last. But why? We need to up the ante. In so many words, the average package that we're sending to people for free went from being a few $100s to now being probably closer to $1,000. Why? Because we want Am Yisrael to learn more Torah. Because we need Am Yisrael to do more tshuva. And if we can get more of Am Yisrael to learn Torah and do tshuva, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu can take all of these evil decrees that are already ready, that have been ready since the time of creation, and only direct them against the enemies of Am Yisrael and not against the Jewish people. Just like we say in our prayer every day, before we start Amidah, we tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we know that He is the one and only God. We tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we know that He's our only protection. And we say to Him that HaShem is near to all those who call Him with truth. The will of those who fear Him, He will fulfill. And their cries He will hear and He will save them. HaShem protects all those who love Him, and all of the wicked He will destroy. This we read in our prayer every day in Mincha, right before we start Amidah. This is what the prayer says. HaShem is going to help us if we start by helping ourselves and each other. For those of you that want to help us with this enormous distribution, with this food distribution, Torah distribution, and everything else that we're doing at the organization, you could donate on our websites. If it's for Pesach, go to bhpesach.org. If it's overall, you could donate on our regular website, Be'ezrat Hashem. You could send a check. In so many words, if you want to donate, there are plenty of ways you could donate on our different websites, or you could simply contact me and I could tell you different ways that you could donate. Either way, there's a lot to do, Rabotai. There's a war at hand, and we can win it. It all starts and ends with the Holy Torah. If we do what Torah says, we've already won. Thank you very much for learning with me. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless each and every single one of you that takes these words to heart and does something about them. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you extraordinary protection during these difficult times, and may you see the salvation with such clarity that you'll hear the words of Hashem saying, "Don't fear, my dear son or daughter. Don't fear. Everything that I've done, I'm doing for you. The time for your salvation has arrived." Kol Tuv, B'cha B'atzlacha. We will speak again and learn together later this week.